Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Corey Perkins here, and welcome to part 17 of What If Deku Was Trained by Stain. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat, and so, we begin.
This time we'll do it right! This time we'll be able to reach Kacchan!
Ida made a noise of disagreement, arms crossed in frustration. He needed to convince them otherwise, or this current predicament would worsen. Shouldn't we try to be a little bit more level-headed about this? This excessive rule-breaking, disregarding the orders given upon us. No one could ponder the sternness upon his looks as he takes a breath to regather what was on his mind. We won't be any different from villains, considering how you all chose this course of action out of selfish desire. Yet regardless of Ida's choice of words, Midoriya refused to back down, for he had solidified his resolve of saving Bakugo.
Not necessarily breaking orders, Ida, if we only intend to rescue Kacchan. As for intentions, this wasn't selfish, as a hero has to save people he can reach.
Ida would like to support his point, but missed to do so as the doctor settled himself inside, requesting the three of them to give Midoriya and him privacy, while he addressed his findings on his arm's conditions. Amongst the injuries you have sustained, this one surpasses the rest.
Surpasses? What do you mean?
Midoriya could feel it coming. He wasn't stupid to where he couldn't figure it out. The injuries he had sustained were worse with his lack of control, but he kept his hopes up. He waited until the doctor lifted his gaze away from the charts that were in his hands. You pulverized both your bones and ligaments. If you intend to pursue the pro hero career, and this keeps happening 2 or 3 more times, there was only dead silence, like how waters remain still before chaos ensues. You'll have to live life without functioning arms. Right now, he has to look after himself, or he might lose his chance even before he could say Plus Ultra as a pro hero in the future. On the other hand, the doctor had given him a letter, one that wasn't of medical relation, but would surely lift his patient's spirits.
Kota!
It took Midoriya everything to maintain his composure as his eyes traveled to read the letter's contents. Meanwhile, Bakugo was slowly gaining consciousness, crimson-colored orbs meeting the place's warm light, as the events that led him there started to settle upon his mind. There was only a scowl plastered upon his face. He recognized the Mist villain from last time, and the Handman above the several other villains that stared back at him. The latter villain seemed relaxed, finally facing him, regardless of having his face hindered by the obscene hand.
Greetings, Bakugo Katsuki. What do you say about becoming one of my comrades? Aspiring young hero?
Even though Bakugo would have preferred a satisfactory explanation as to why he would oppose without a second thought. Such were the matters he favored, not very fancy himself.
Heh, eat shit and die.
He even graced them with the audacity to show them a smirk, a telltale sign to tell them he doesn't care, that none of them could make him say otherwise. Bakugo solemnly held his belief of not troubling himself with characters he had labeled as extras. It went on until he saw the Handman, which seemed to be their leader, gesture his actual hands toward him. Yet his gaze fixated upon the patchwork skin villain.
Dabi, remove his bindings.
There were protests of some sort among the other villains. Admittedly, Bakugo found himself with the same thoughts. He was starting to assume that these hoodlums who called themselves the League of Villains were looking down upon him too. He might go feral knowing the kid's nature. The purple mist villain then proceeded to speak, supporting what Dabi had just claimed. Dabi is indeed right, Shigaraki. There are the chances that he might jump at the first opportunity of being unchained. However, as the unseen smile crept upon the face of the man called Shigaraki, he had much opposed this, and thus he allowed everyone to know why.
I truly wanted the young hero on my side, and if you want to gain his favor, then the first step shall be treating him as an equal.
There was dead silence as he paused. Bakugo knew it wasn't just that. The reason why he didn't mind him unchained hangs in the air, like the obvious fact that it was.
Besides, he knows that he doesn't stand a chance of winning regardless of whether he fights or not. He doesn't have allies to begin with. Unless, of course, he changes his mind.
That alone convinced the villains into removing Bakugo's chains. An action willingly done, but not by the patchwork skin villain that they just called Dabi, but by the weird man whose name was Twice. Then the one who placed him inside a marble with his quirk, Mr. Compress, bowed slightly as a gesture of apology. We apologize for the forceful abduction. Please understand we are not hoodlums wishing to perform unnecessary evil acts. Your abduction tonight was a tactical one, for we cannot afford the heroes meddling with your mind as we present our point of view. While Twice was removing the chains, Bakugo remained silent, keeping nothing but an unusual neutral reaction while Shigaraki moved to approach him. All that while, Mr. Compress continued with his ramblings. Life had presented everyone with the varying circumstances, but united through the resentment of how heroes shackled what was supposed to be our free minds. Something I believe that you'd understand, after the humiliation they caused you during that festival in the face of the whole of Japan. They had said he wouldn't fight back, but Bakugo wasn't a typical high school student. For the moment when the chains were off and Shigaraki was in his arm's reach, he detonated an explosion right off in his face.
I stayed quiet this whole time listening to those ramblings, but you idiots don't know how to summarize to save your asses.
The smoke from his explosion that covered him along with the others was fading. However, his irritation remained.
So what you're telling me is, we hate them, you hate them, so join us please?
Seconds had passed since Bakugo had paused, letting both what he had said and the smoke sink into the villains as it revealed the glare he was shooting at them, far from the neutral face expression he had kept.
Pointless!
After such, his confidence had come back, looking down at everyone as he usually did to assert dominance, regardless of the situation.
You shitty villains can say as much of that crap as you want. Ramble on forever for all I care, but none of you can change my mind!
There was only silence as Shigaraki faced his gaze toward the hand that had slipped from his face, while the rest discerned how impenetrable the resolve of Bakugo was. Meanwhile, simultaneously in front of the hospital at nighttime was a confrontation filled with disagreement between Ida, Momo, and the hopeful rescuers Midoriya, Todoroki, and Kirishima.
This is a foolproof method to ensure expulsion if you want to ask me.
There was an apparent distaste in Yaoyoroza's voice, as she expressed her opinion, but not whether she agreed to join or not.
Why? Why are you making the same mistake that I did? Something both you, Midoriya, and Todoroki should know above the rest.
It was an unspoken issue between him, Midoriya, and Todoroki, for they both knew well what Ida meant and how he had felt about it. They could only give him a look, the gaze of which spoke of how tonight's mission remained on the table, regardless of how it must have felt for Ida. For this one is an emergency. It was something he understood well, but he had points he needed them to understand, which paved the way for his true intentions to flow as his composure cracked.
Who do you think will be responsible for all this reckless mission you call?
Midoriya, like Ida, had something he also needed him to understand, for this time it wasn't so reckless as the rest of what they or he had done prior.
Ida, you've got it wrong. We weren't repeating what we did because this time we're calmer. We know exactly what to do. We can not just waste the lead.
His ramble seemed to come to a halt as Ida's fist landed upon his face, composure completely crumbling down. While the whole ordeal of punching Midoriya had shocked the rest, Midoriya himself had partly appreciated how honest Ida had become with his emotions.
I'm frustrated too. Don't you see? It wasn't just Bakugo whom I'm worried. I worry for the rest of the class.
Images of his brother, which haunted him to no end, plagued his mind momentarily. Something he knew well would happen to his peers if they engaged with reckless abandonment tonight.
Have you ever thought how horrible that was? Seeing all your injuries, especially you, who had laid at the wards like my brother that day.
He breathed, trying to calm himself once more, as he looked into his friends with utmost sincerity before his gaze met the floor.
That if you all pursued recklessly, that if something happened to you all like my brother, did those feelings mean nothing? Is that what it is?
Todoroki, who had maintained his sojourn neutrality, landed both of his hands on Ida's shoulders, which prompted the latter to meet his heterochromatic gaze. He had made sure his classmate had cleared off his emotional rambling before he carefully proceeded with him, Midoriya, and Kirishima's point in the whole rescue of Bakugo. Ida, we're not going to engage in combat with this one. It shocked Ida. While Midoriya was sure to be reckless while he saw Bakugo, he trusted that Todoroki could still take the situation calmly, if it happened.
Yeah, man, it's like doing a covert mission. A way to fight without rule-breaking.
Kirishima felt finally their point was coming across, which led him to say these words, albeit too late, yet truthful.
I'll then believe in Todoroki.
This time it was Yaoyoroza's time to have their resolve solidified, for she had also been thinking about the night of the abduction, and how she could have helped more, both as a hero in training and a classmate concerned for the wellness of her reckless and selfless peers.
I will come along with everyone carrying the intention of accompanying you all as a failsafe, should you all decide to be reckless, doing the opposite of what you have been telling us all this time.
Sighing in relief now that the whole predicament was over, Midoriya shared how the whole situation impacted him.
I don't understand it myself, but after being told that my hands can reach him, sitting around has become harder than expected.
Especially how he had recalled that night, how he was so close to reaching him, or how different it would have been if he hadn't gone overboard with being too selfless. Because now as they talk, he might be losing him farther, while carrying the burden of how it affected his body too, as the doctor had said.
I can't help think about how I wanted Kacchan out of this. How I wanted to save him as I have failed last time under the same mistake of being reckless.
A parallel, huh? Ida had solemnly thought, as the whole predicament bore resemblance, albeit better with his peers, and him having a clearer head and a plan too.
Then in that case, take me with you.
Thank you all for indulging yourself in the story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we have a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge of all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We the Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 and older to join the crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work fulfills your interest. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching, and have a great day.